Hey guys, normally I'll run the intro and everything, and I'll do that in a minute. But before we officially start the show, I wanted to give thoughts and prayers to all the people in Kansas City during the unfortunate events that unfolded during the Super Bowl parade. We all love sports, and it's not worth that much. There's no way that we should be doing, what happened. So, thoughts and prayers right now are with the people in Kansas City.
I'm just going to co-sign on that. Our thoughts and prayers are with the victims, the families, everybody that had to endure this tragedy. Any life lost is one life too many. So we can do better, period. We can do better as a country. We can do better.
Absolutely.
What he is a blueprint for potential. Talk about all these big games he had. Like, what big games? What did you do?
Welcome to the N1 Podcast. We thank you for tuning in. This episode is brought to you by Guardy 3 and Mo. Mo, how you doing today?
Doing well on a Thursday. Ready to talk some hoops.
Yeah, no, absolutely. A lot of exciting stuff happening today. Before we get into underrated player of the week, just wanted to say quick congratulations to Caitlin Clark. She officially broke the record today.
Congratulations. That's a great accomplishment.
Yeah, no, a lot of people never thought that record would be topped or it'd take a while, and she did it. So congratulations to her. What's impressive is she did it, I believe it's about 10 less games too. So just an incredible accomplishment for Miss Clark. So once again, Caitlin Clark, congratulations. So, but you know how it is, Mo. You know how you like to get down? You got to start out with an underrated player, team of the week. So, Mo, who do you got?
You know what? Underrated player of the week for me, I'm going to go Tyson Chandler. I think Tyson Chandler was one of the most underrated, versatile defenders in NBA history. Obviously, he was the anchor of a team that went on to win a championship with Dirk being the star, the Dallas Mavericks. So I'm going to always give a big up to Tyson Chandler. He also won Defensive Player of the Year before. So Tyson Chandler, to me, one of the more versatile bigs. He was one of the first bigs I saw that can really play in space, recover, guard smaller players with his quickness, his athleticism. So Tyson Chandler, I'm just a big fan of. Salute Tyson Chandler.
That is an absolutely great one. People forget that Tyson was pretty much, it felt like the missing piece for that Dallas Mavericks team.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things Dirk was great at, but rim protection was not one of them. He needed somebody that could help behind and protect the rim, and Tyson stepped in and filled that role to a T. So that is an absolutely phenomenal one.
Who you rolling with?
I decided I'm going to be a little bit of a homer today. I want to talk about one of my favorite players. This is a multi-time All-Star before he got injured, unfortunately. We're talking Michael Redd today.
Oh, wow.
He was not remembered much because obviously he played for those mid-2000 Bucks teams, and for anybody that remembers the mid-2000s Bucks, if you watched the Bucks during the mid-2000s, you're probably entitled to financial compensation. It was not a great time for Milwaukee, especially after, Ray Allen got shipped out and the whole George Karl thing blew over. But Michael Redd was giving you a solid 20 a game. He was lefty, so his form was kind of unique because it was a little different than everybody else's. So I really wanted to shout out Michael Redd because all I'm thinking is, man, that team sucked, but he didn't. He was an absolute great. He's a great player, and I believe he made an All-NBA second team as well. So I wanted to shout out Michael Redd.
That's a really good one. Michael Redd, he got into the gym. He got into the lab. He turned himself into an all-star because he was not touted to be anything close to that. So that's a really good, underrated player. He had a really unique release, and you would know it better than I if you watched him as a fan of the Bucks. But Michael Redd was an underrated scorer who really elevated himself in those early 2000s. So that's a really good one. I'd almost forgotten about Michael Redd.
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't always easy being a Bucks fan. People think they're good now. It was always easy, but man, when you're sitting through us drafting Joe Alexander, watching Nate Wolters and Keon Dooling run point guard, it was rough at times until we finally turned it around in that late 2010s.
Did they fool you? Did they fool you? Because a lot of people tried to hope they tried to really hype up Joel Alexander, and I was not feeling that when he came out. But they hyped him up like he's going to be one of the next big things, and that never really happened.
I was not fooled at all by Joe Alexander. It's kind of like you in the intro. I was just kind of like, what do you do? What are we doing here? Who are you?
Right. No, look, true fans, you're there when your squad is down. You appreciate it that much more when your squad is up. Trust me, I know people think when you're a Laker fan, you're spoiled. You've seen your share of titles. I also remember that time when Magic retired and what the Lakers looked like before Kobe and Shaq. They had a couple of good teams that made the playoffs, but they weren't title contenders. There were some lean years there in LA, trust me.
Yeah, I remember people forget the legend of Tarek Black.
There you go.
There you go. 2010 Lakers legend, right?
Don't forget guys like what is dude's name? Chris Mim, people of that nature. Don't forget we had Smush Parker. We had some lean years. Even before that, Sedale Threet and people of that nature. It was rough. It was rough.
Marcelo Huertas fighting behind the coach and getting a steal is still one of my favorite moments. Well, by the way, shout out Wire to Wire Sports. Gene, thank you for hopping in. Jory, we got Kyle Edwards saying, how about those Rick Pitino Celtics?
Oh, that's a good one, Kyle. I like that. That's a good one.
Well, we decided to spice things up a little bit. There's a prospect, the Nick Young, Reggie Bullock, Vanderblue.
No, I remember it, Jory. I just don't want to mention it, but I absolutely remember it.
So, to all you guys listening, you've probably heard it in past episodes. My dogs like to make noise. They like to make themselves heard in the middle of the podcast. I could get grumpy with them, or I can include them in the podcast. Guys, this is our first edition of Puppy Prospects.
Puppy Prospects, I'm feeling it.
Where Brody and Peanut are going to tell you which prospects you should be looking out for. And unfortunately, I only got one for you this week. One guy I've been looking at this week. And, I'm not going to lie, I've been kind of starting overseas and working my way in. Let me pull up my, because I want you all to see. So last week, I talked about Nikola Topic. And these are the notes I meant to add in last week, but I forgot to. This week, I want to talk a little about Alexandre Sarr. He's in the French league. And if you want a player comp, I think this guy reminds me a lot of Evan Mobley.
Wow.
He's tall. His offense is a work in progress. And as you can see, I kind of wrote all this down. He's a willing shooter, but his jump shot needs work. He looks comfortable attacking closeouts, but he's so agile on the defensive end, and he can move. He can block shots. Like, this guy reminds me a lot of Evan Mobley, and if he can develop a shot, this guy might be what we think Evan Mobley could be. Honestly,
if his player comp is Evan Mobley, that's a great start. Look, Evan Mobley, and even right now, Evan Mobley still has developing to do within his career, but the player that he is right now, with being as raw as he is a very good NBA player. Evan Mobley, like you said in your notes, like Evan Mobley, his deep defense will be his calling card. Look, if you start out as an elite defender and a good rebounder, but you're a willing defender, that there's a way you can immediately impact your team, even if your offense has to catch up to your defense.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of those guys that I think in the right situation, he's going to develop really well. I think he's got to go somewhere where they have a playmaker at point, somebody who's going to feed him the ball. He's not comfortable creating his own shot quite yet. So if you ask him to do that, you're not going to go very far. But I think this is a kid that he can make an instant impact if you put him in the right role. So I think that his spot where his team he goes to is going to be huge for him.
Is he a top 10 pick in your opinion, or is he just a first round pick?
I think he's top 10.
Okay. All right.
So guys, if you haven't checked him out, Alexandre Sarr, my bad, is my puppy prospect of the week. Definitely give him a look. You think you'll see what I'm talking about. I think he's got a lot of potential. Do you have any prospect you want to bring up, Mo, that the viewers and listeners should check out?
Not this week. I'm going to let you cook with Mr. Sarr. I'm actually going to check him out and look at the film and him as well. Like I said, if he's anything like Evan Mobley, if I'm a front office person, I'm looking at him. I'm bringing him in for a workout.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a dog for hire. She's great at disruptions. Send in the application, Jory. Send in the application.
I love it, Jory. I love it. Put her to work.
So why don't we just stick with women's hoops? Because this weekend, or All-Star Weekend, we got a big event coming up. We got Sabrina versus Steph 3-point contest, and I'm really glad that they're doing this because I think this will be a great way to really draw even more interest to women's sports, and that's something that I've been hoping for a while. They needed a platform like this, and now they're finally getting it.
Is it true that she said that? See, that was a puppy pick. She picked Sabrina. I got you. I think Sabrina's going to shoot from the NBA 3-point line and not the women's 3-point line. I thought that was interesting.
Oh wow, yeah, that would be it. It'll be a fun one. I'd probably put money on Steph, but I think Sabrina's going to give him a run for her money.
I do too. I think she's built for this, no question.
Yeah, and I hope she does. I think this is going to be a great way because I know a lot of people like to disrespect women's sports, and I think watching Sabrina, hang with Steph, even in just the form of a 3-point contest, I think that's a nice publicity boost for them.
Now that I think about it, I'm wondering why they didn't have some WNBA players in the skills competition.
Ooh,
you know what I mean? There's no shortage of WNBA players who have handles, who can pass the rock, who can shoot. Like, I'm wondering why they're not in the skills competition because I think they would do well.
Listen, if you ask me who I would rather watch, Aaliyah Cooper or Thanasis Antetokounmpo in a skill competition, I can tell you what the answer would be.
Well, that's not fair.
Say, John Suggs, thank you for tuning in. Kyle, she said she practices from the NBA line.
There it is.
Most of her shots from the men line. No, that's fair. Alrighty. So, guys are going to have a lot of fun with this. I want to get the chat's opinion on all these. So, recently, Steph is going to win. I'd put money on Steph, too. I'd pick Steph, but I think Sabrina's going to give a good effort towards it.
Yeah, and look, I know she has that kind of range, but if they're both shooting from the normal NBA line, I'm definitely going to give Steph the edge.
Oh, for sure. So, for anybody listening and that hasn't followed it yet, the And One podcast now is a Facebook page that rather watch Aaliyah Boston than Thanasis the cheerleader. So the And One podcast now is a Facebook page, and I've been trying to post daily a lot of would you rathers, right? And one of the first would you rathers I did was, let me bring it up for you guys. So the question is, you have the first pick in the WNBA draft. Mind you, this is 1993 Sheryl Swoopes, so none of her WNBA accomplishments or what she does post 1993 in this scenario matters because it didn't happen yet. And we have 2023 Caitlin Clark. You have the first pick in the WNBA draft. Who are you guys drafting? Well, who are you drafting?
That's a tough call. Obviously, because of Caitlin's insane range in the league that they're playing in now, her range is going to be more prevalent, right? The ability to strike from that distance and be that big a threat. But Cheryl Hoops is a legit hooper. I mean, she's the kind of hooper that kind of transcends this era or that era. Like when you can hoop like that, and when your calling card is everything, like she can score, she can give you buckets, and she can lock down on defense. I'm still going to go with Sheryl Swoopes because I think Sheryl Swoopes is the better basketball player.
You know what? That is fair. I was looking at Cheryl Swoopes' numbers and everything from that 93 tournament run, and in both her tournament runs, this is still a 41% three-point shooter, so it's not like she was some throwback big that had no range. She had 3-level range and 3-level scoring ability. So, Daniel Barry, Sports Highlights, what's good? Thank you for tuning in.
It was good. No question. And like I said, Cheryl Swoopes is not a one-trick pony. Like, she could lock down defensively, too. She wasn't just a scorer. Look, if you were just talking about people who can just get you buckets, I think Cynthia Cooper is one of the best bucket getters I've ever seen in any era. Like, she can break anybody down off the dribble and get a hoop, like just a natural born scorer. And to be fair to Caitlin, she's got the crazy range right now. I think she's going to get better. Like this, I don't think this is the best version of Caitlin Clark, right? Like we're seeing her, and I guess the baby stages of her career. All I'm saying is, if you look at them overall, I'm always gonna go with the better basketball player, even though I respect and admire what Caitlin can do from distance.
Yeah, that's fair. It's almost like would you rather, right? Because I feel like Caitlin Clark is the better offensive player, not by much, but I think what gives her an edge is obviously she has crazy range, but I also think her playmaking is more advanced than where Sheryl Swoopes was. But I also think Sheryl Swoopes was a much better defender than her. So it's almost like, would you rather have that extra boost in playmaking, or would you rather have the better defense? So for me, I'm more of a two-way player, so I'd probably take Sheryl Swoopes from 93, but
I don't think there's a wrong answer.
No. And it's funny because a lot of people, when I posted that, they hated so hard. They were like, oh, it has to be Sheryl Swoopes because of what she did. It's like, this is 1993 and before, not 19. This isn't 97, multi-time finals MVP Sheryl Swoopes. So.
Right. This is before she'd done anything.
Right. Yeah. But I don't think you can go wrong either way. I just thought that was a fun one to throw out there.
I think they're all fun, so I love that you keep doing that.
That's fair. I try to find crazy players. Give me Cheryl Miller over them all.
Cheryl Miller was a beast. She was a beast. I remember watching her with the McGee sisters, the McGee twins at SC.
So, Mo, I was not thrilled today. I'm going to switch over to the NBA real quick because I was not thrilled today.
Let's do it.
The Milwaukee Bucks decided that what they need is to get even less athletic, slower, and more ground-bound. The Milwaukee Bucks have signed Danilo Gallinari for the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I did not get that signing.
I don't like it. a lot of people were talking it up like, oh, he can score. Is the Milwaukee Bucks issue really right now scoring the basketball?
Right.
No. And the issue with Danilo Gallinari, what's going to happen when we get to the playoffs? He's going to be glued to the end of the bench because all I have to do is pull him out to the three-point line and he's cooked. He can't move anymore. If we throw out a front court of Danilo Gallinari and Brook Lopez, that literally might be just the least mobile front court in NBA history at that point. It is not.
Well, let me add another player to that. Throw out Danilo Gallinari, Brook Lopez, and Jay Crowder, and you would have the slowest front court in NBA history.
No, I agree. It's a signing. It happened, and some people are excited, but I just don't get it. I don't think it helps us at all. It doesn't fill a position of need. Like, sure, he can hit threes, but I could have found somebody younger and more athletic with more legs on him that can do that too.
I'm just saying, right? Or at least get an athletic wing defender who can at least score in transition or be a factor that way. Gallinari is a one-trick pony, and I just don't understand it. Look. And you brought out the obvious point. The Bucks' problem isn't scoring the basketball. The Bucks' problem is on the other end of the floor. And Gallinari does not provide any assistance on the other end of the floor.
And it wouldn't be an issue if, he wasn't going to have a role, but this is Doc Rivers we're talking about. He's playing his vets. So now instead of doing what I want to do and play Andre Jackson Jr. and give the young guys some more run, now we're getting more Gal minutes, and I absolutely dislike this move so much. By the way, Mo, what I gotta ask, what did you think about Spencer Dinwiddie taking a 1-on-5 2-for-1 shot at the end of the first quarter there? I thought I get wanting to get the 2-for-1, but I still think that you need to, make it a smart shot if you're gonna do it.
It bothered me a little bit, but I see what he was trying to do, and he was trying to be aggressive. Look, it's a lot of guys will come into a new situation and they'll play passive. So I thought, to Dinwiddie's credit, he played more to his true nature. He is an aggressive offensive player, and I'd rather him play more into his own style than try to lean into being too good a teammate. Like if you overpass or you don't play true to who you are, then you hurt your team more than you help your team. It wasn't a great decision, but I like the aggressiveness.
That's fair. That's a good way to look at it. I was just curious because I saw that. I'm just like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I get wanting the 2-for-1, but that's fair. Yeah, Rui did have a night. But I love the chemistry with some of those guys too. Austin Reeves said that Rui had a career high in assists as well. That was hilarious.
Well, that's because when Rui gets the ball, Rui's shooting. That's why Austin Reeves said that. Rui is a black hole. He ain't passing the ball to nobody. And look, I made fun of it as I was watching the game last night, and they were beating down the Jazz, and I was making light of it. I was like, man, see, we should have went ahead and traded LeBron. We're good. And I know some Laker fans are like, come on. But then I'm like, come on. Yeah.
We
should.
Rui has the playmaking chops of like Mo Spates. When he catches that ball, it's going one direction.
Yes, he's very much like Mo Spates. He's better than Mo Spates, but yes, his mentality very similar.
That's fair. That's kind of where I was going with that, Jory. What has happened to the Spark and New York Knicks 4 in a row now?
No, I think they've had some injuries, and you have to remember, I think they've hit a run where they've played some better teams, and what teams are doing now, they're wearing down Jalen Brunson. They're sending two people at him. They're being aggressive. Look at the Knicks right now. Who are the guys on the Knicks that are shot creators? I'm talking about the guys that can score for themselves, but create for others as well. It's Jalen Brunson, and that's it. Look at that roster. I'm just being real. They don't have shot creators on that team. They traded away a couple of shot creators really to get OG, and I'm good with that. But when he's out of the lineup, when Randall's out of the lineup, even though I'm not the biggest fan of his, everything is put on Brunson's shoulders because even though DiVincenzo's having a career year, he can't create his own shot. Josh Hart can't create his own shot. Like they don't have shot creators on that roster other than Jalen Brunson.
100% agreed, and not to mention that I was about to say this, and Jory brought it up. Tibbs is running his starters into the ground. OG's already out with an injury for like 3 weeks, so
that is the history of Tibbs. Your starter's going to play what 38, 40 minutes. That's how Tibbs rolls, and that's why New York, even though you guys are relevant again, that's why you won't win a championship because Tibbs is going to be your worst enemy when it's all said and done.
Yeah, Tibbs, like, I don't know if he loses sleep if his starters play less than 40 minutes or what's going on with him, but he's got to lighten the load during the regular season. Do you think they should have kept RJ instead of Randall? No, and the reason is simple. They don't get OG if they're trying to keep RJ.
Right, because
I don't think the Raptors are taking Julius Randle back in that trade.
100%. They're like, hey, they're hanging up the phone. What do you mean, Randall? Click. They're not doing that. Now, John, I would say this. Would I like to move Randall rather than RJ? Yes, because they don't need Randall. They don't. I know Knicks fans, at least the Randall ones, will tell me, like, Randall, what are you talking about? Randall's going to be an all-star. He is. And he's going to put up these good numbers again. But you guys have to realize there are guys, and this is throughout the history of the NBA, some people just cut for the regular season. Julius Randle's cut for the regular season. He is a stat machine, but he's not a franchise player. I don't even think Julius Randle could be the second best player on a title contending team. That's not in his DNA. At best, he's on your really good team, if you're competing for titles, he should be your third best player. The problem with that is, in his mind, he's your best player, so it won't work. Yes, I would have loved for the Knicks to have moved Randall, but I think that they realize that there's not a big market out there for him.
No, I agree. And yeah, with that being the question, then yeah, if you could have kept RJ and moved Randall instead of absolutely jumping on that 100%.
Jory said Velcro handle.
Randall can't be your number one or two. And
no.
Kind of brought up the point I was about to make, and this is going to be the issue with Julius Randle, right?
And Wire to Wire got it dead right. Yeah, he won't accept being a third. That's exactly right, which is why he's got to be moved. That's true. Agreed.
In fact, I almost think that he'd be at his absolute best as a six man.
He would never accept that role, but if he was, he would be a star as a six man.
Right, absolutely. I know he'll never take it, but I feel like Julius Randle, the six man, he'd be a multi-time six man of the year while still impacting the game. And against second stringers, that's better matchups for him. So I think his efficiency would jump through the roof. But unfortunately, that won't happen. So I don't think we'll ever see the best version of Julius Randle.
Which is why the Knicks are in NBA purgatory, because they want to move him, but you and I both know they won't get no real value for him. And so they actually think it's worth it to keep him. My only problem with that is I believe he's up for his next deal. Are you really going to give Julius Randle a big contract? I'm not doing that.
I am cheering for enough players to miss the All-NBA team.
Agreed.
That Julius Randle sneaks on again.
He made it last year, didn't he?
Know. I think so.
Last year, yeah.
I need the argument between the Knicks and Julius Randle about should we give him a super max or not. That would be the funniest headline ever.
Brett, for that drama, I'm there for it. But because trust you, him and his agent are going to walk into that negotiation and go, he's an All-NBA player, two-time All-NBA player. Pay him accordingly, right? That's what they're going to say. They're going to make comparisons like, well, Zion hasn't been All-NBA, and he makes this much money. You know what I'm saying? They're going to make some crazy comparisons with Julius Randle. And my guess is Leon Rose is going to laugh them out of the office, but we'll see.
That would be my reaction. Like, you want what now? All right, yeah, go. Goodbye.
I would tell him, test free agency, fam. Test free agency.
Well, don't worry, guys, because we have another fun one, another Would You Rather. And this was actually the first one that I did for the N1 podcast. So I'm kind of going through all these because they're a lot of fun. So I want to get your input on this one. So the first one I did for the N1 podcast, guys in the chat, Mo, who are you taking? 2017.
KJ.
Didn't even let me finish that one. That's fair enough. 2017 John Wall or 1991 Kevin Johnson? Now, the overwhelming amount of people did say KJ, and I can't really blame them.
He was better. I like John Wall.
I saw the argument that people were making in favor of John Wall was Kevin Johnson had the luxury of playing with Charles Barkley, while John Wall was playing with an injured Bradley Beal and Otto Porter.
That's a weak argument because some of Kevin Johnson's best years were before Charles Barkley was his teammate. You got to do better than that. When they played against Houston in the playoffs and he averaged 36 points a game, they had nothing to do with Charles Barkley. That was Kevin Johnson. That's not a good argument. Kevin Johnson did something that very few people can claim. In the same playoff run, he got rid of Magic Johnson and John Stockton back to back. He did that.
That was not a thought of during Kevin Johnson's era as an angel on a cloud.
Fair enough.
He also did something that not a lot of people did. He put Hakeem Olajuwon on a poster.
Yes,
not many people can say that.
And not with a floater, he didn't stagger him with a cross. He banged on him.
Yeah, he went right at him, and he got rewarded for it. That was insanity. Yeah,
it's one of the best in-game dunks in NBA history.
Oh, for sure. Like I said, it's right up there. It's number 2 or 3 for me, depending if you count the Olympics.
If you're talking Vince, then I'm with you 100%. I'll give you that. Look, I'm not telling people that John Wall wasn't special, especially that 2017 version of him, but he just wasn't better than Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson had the quickness that John Wall had, and you didn't realize it, but he would sneak up on you, and he made a habit of banging on bigs on the regular. And Kevin Johnson had a reliable jump shot. Like, he wasn't just a penetrator. His mid-range jump shot was money. John Wall was never been a good shooter. He never has. Like, his whole game was predicated off his quickness.
And if anybody wants to know what my number 2 dunk of all time is, number 1 is Vince Carter over Weiss at the Olympics. Number 2 is Shawn Kemp over Alton Lister.
Oh, yeah.
When he banged on him, and then just when he went to the ground, he started pointing at him.
Yeah.
Maybe the most disrespectful thing I've ever seen.
He wound up on him too. The Lister blister. I remember that. Yeah.
I say, yeah. Wasn't Lister also on the end of another Shaq poster too, where he threw the ball back at him?
Yeah, he got banged on a few times. I think my favorite Shawn Kemp dunk, it's one a lot of people don't talk about. But if you go to YouTube, everybody that's watching the show, type in Shawn Kemp dunks on Patrick Ewing, and then when you see it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, I'm going to bring up another one of these because we're going to go through them all because I think these are great. I try to pick really creative players. You ready? You guys need a 2-way wing to fill out your roster. Who are you taking? Do you want prime Shawn Marion or do you want Iguodala?
So here's the thing. The easy part about this is the numbers tell you that it's Marion, right? Marion's got like 5 or 6 seasons where he averaged double-doubles. He's got insane numbers. I think he's a 4-time All-Star. I think Iggy's maybe a 1 or 2-time All-Star, but that Finals MVP is worth all those All-Star appearances. I would say this: if you look at Iguodala when he was the best player, I'm talking about when Philly used him as their best player, he put up numbers that were similar to Marion, but it showed you in that moment that he couldn't carry a franchise. When Iggy went to Denver and then later on to Golden State, and he was in his proper role where he could excel, he was a terrific Swiss Army knife. If you're asking me to choose career-wise, numbers-wise, I'm taking Marion. But if you're asking me which career I want Iggy's career. I would take Iggy's career.
Oh yeah, no, I said yeah. you're the GM and you want a two-way wing to kind of help build around.
He has intangibles too. Like, look, the guy has water. He's got ice in his veins. He can be what we call an up and down 3-point shooter, Brett. But when the money's on the line, suddenly Iggy can hit that big three when you need him to. He can get that big stop when you need him to. So, like I said, Marion was more prolific, but I'm talking about winning. I'll take Iguodala.
Yeah, that's fair. That's kind of where I was at too, because I went with Iguodala, and they had nothing against the Matrix. The Matrix is maybe the most versatile player in NBA history.
And he, let's be honest, they don't get enough credit. We talk about this all the time. That Steve Nash Suns team, I think they were the first ones that really excelled at small ball.
Yeah, absolutely. And that would not have happened at all without the impact of Sean Marion, because he could do a little bit of
100%.
everything.
Yep.
A Steve Nash-led team weren't making playoff runs or even making the deep playoff runs without Sean Marion. He needed somebody like that. But yeah, no, that's something with Iggy too. I'd almost notice it in the regular season. This dude's like a low 30% shooter from three for Golden State. Then in the playoffs, all of a sudden, 41%. Where did that come from?
You know who else was like that in big games? Like in the regular season, he'd shoot like 29% from three. And then you get him in the big games, and suddenly Robert Horry couldn't miss when you needed it most. Some guys just have that it for whatever reason when the money's on the line and everybody else doesn't want the basketball. So, look, like I said, I'm a fan of both players. I'm a big fan of the Matrix. Love that he was a big part of that Mavs championship team. But I'm just a big Iguodala fan.
Bam is like that. Bam
Yeah,
does
very similar.
Games.
Yeah, Bam is never going to shoot a three, but yeah, I like Bam. I like Bam as a player, but I think Bam is. Would you agree, Brett? He's less of a star and more of a complimentary player, right? Like he's a really good complimentary player, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like I think sometimes because he kind of like he worked his way into being a star, I think people have come to kind of overrate him a little bit.
Yeah, I think he's a star in his role, but he's a great two-way player.
Yeah.
However, I do think that he's a better power forward than a center. But they like to run him at center. That's no big deal. But yeah, I think he's a star in his role. He's almost like a complimentary star. Like
right.
He's a star in the sense of like. Oh, go ahead.
Let me ask you this: if they strip Miami down, they strip the Heat down, could you build around Bam Adebayo?
Not if you had not unless you had a Batman.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah,
we're not questioning that he's a good basketball player, but if they said we want to rebuild and Bam's only like 25 or 26, so we could build around Bam, and I'd be like, you can't really build around a complimentary player. It doesn't work that way.
No, you could build the defense around him, but building the entire team around him, no, absolutely not.
Right.
Now.
Oh, wait, before you go, I know we just did the either or. You just gave me a great idea just on the spur of the moment.
Okay.
Would you take the current version of Bam, what you've seen from him the last 3 or 4 years, or would you take Atlanta Hawks Al Horford?
Oh, dude, give me Atlanta Hawks Al Horford.
Yeah, me too.
A lot of people would say Bam, and I know he's made more All-Star teams, and he's at this point, he probably has more accolades than Al Horford, I would imagine, but people don't really forget how good Al Horford is. Like, he does exactly what he did with Boston. Like, he's been the same exact player almost for years, except in Atlanta. He had more athleticism. He had more bursts. So
right. And his game aged well, right? So when he went from being like a star to more of a complimentary player, Al was able to extend his range, and he's extended his career because of that.
I'll say that, man, both that whole front court duo aged well. You had Al Horford and Paul Millsap. Both of them played into the 2020s, and Al Horford, he could probably play into the 2030s with the way his game is bound.
Right. It's funny you said that, because the guy that was considered to be the most talented of their front court players, Josh Smith, did not play that long.
Oh, no, don't remind me. It hurts because I love Josh Smith, and unfortunately, he committed career suicide by going to Detroit. That was never going to work.
Yeah.
if anybody doesn't know with Josh Smith, if you guys remember him, he played in the 2010s, late 2000s, early 2010s. And what ended up happening was he was in a perfect role in Atlanta. Then he went to Detroit, where a guy whose game was predicated on slashing could not slash because now he had to play with a duo of Andre Drummond, Greg Monroe. Point guard for a while was actually like 100-year-old Chauncey Billups before they realized he was washed. And then it went to Rodney Stuckey. And then they finally traded for Brandon Jennings. And that's part of the reason why he fell in love with the three is because there was no room for him to go inside, unfortunately.
The problem with Josh Smith is he fell in love with the three, like Kyle said, and he would take like 10 threes and go 0 for 10 most games. He was a horrible three-point shooter.
Man, unless he's facing the Clippers in the playoffs, then he's money.
In a game 7, right?
Him and Corey Brewer just could not miss in that comeback.
You know what? 20 years from now, Corey Brewer is going to show his family that game. They're going to go, "You were that good all the time." He's like, "All the time."
He's going to show them that clips and the clips of his 50-point game, and he's going to say, "Yeah, I'm the MVP of the league." Once they're going to believe him. He might be one of the most random, like, 50 pieces I've ever seen, right up there with, like, Sadiq Bey and, like, Tony Delk.
Tony Delk, that was the most random one for me. Like, where did that come from?
Well, hey, chat, we're going to make you work on this one. It's going to be a little bit tough. This is the one post from today. It's going to be a little challenging. You ready? Guys, the Martians have the death beam pointed at Earth. You've been sent back to 2004. You got to save the Earth. It's really easy. All you got to do is beat the 04 Pistons. You can ask the Lakers how easy that was. However, you can take anybody from history. However, maximum of 13 All-Star appearances on your team. So that takes out guys like LeBron. That takes out Kobe. That takes out Kareem. So
that takes out Jordan and, well, I mean, I guess you could add Magic, but if you add Magic, would you going to add like one other player?
Yeah.
So yeah,
you just have to add a bunch of players who never made an All-Star.
Who never made, and there are some very good players who never made All-Star teams. I want to remind people of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Mo, you said you threw some players. You made a team. You want to share yours first, or do you want me to go?
No, I'll go. I'll throw it again. So I think on your backups, you have one of my starters. I have a backcourt of Derrick Rose and Jamal Murray. And in my front court, I've got Derek Coleman, Chris Webber, and Iguodala. That's my front court.
Whew, I like it. I threw in a name I think you'll like. I think you'll like with the team I threw together.
Okay.
So just for fun, I have too much time on my hands apparently, and I decided to make backups too. So
I love it. Let's hear it.
So my starting lineup, we'll start there. My point guard, one All-Star appearance, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
That's a good one.
At the 2, we're going to go a little big. This is a big team. So my 2, I got Iguodala. At small forward, give me Peja Stojakovic. I need some consistent floor spacing.
You're
and
sure?
04 Peja, people forget he was 4th in MVP voting. He was special. At power forward, to try to match Rasheed Wallace, I got Luol Deng. I needed somebody that's tough. He's going to bring some toughness. So I got Luol Deng at the 4. He's my power forward, 2 All-Star appearances. And I blew half my load here for All-Star appearances on my center, Nikola Jokic.
Oh, you went and got the Joker. I love it. That's why you're going to be able to compete with him. I like that. I
figure that if I needed somebody to pull Ben Wallace away from the rim, that's the key to the whole thing. So he right now he only has 6. So I decided to go with Jokic at center. My backup squad consists of point guard Andre Miller,
which is a great one.
Shooting guard Jamal Murray. We have my backup small forward being Lamar Odom.
Hello.
Hey, Kyle, you might know this one. You might know this player. My backup power forward, 1981 Finals MVP, Cedric Maxwell. Or it might have been 82. I think it was 1982 actually, but
Cornbread. I think it's 80, 81, 82, but it's Cornbread, the guy.
yeah. So we have Cedric Maxwell, and of course, backup center Marcus Canby.
Wow, Camby's a really good one. Like Camby could have been a starter, but yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I almost did. I almost went with Camby. I thought about putting him in the starting lineup. Like, no, I got to get Ben Wallace away from this rim. That was always huge to me.
My bigs don't shoot the three well, but they also but DC and C Webb shoot the mid range really well, and both of them can handle the rock. Like, and I don't mean like handle it for a big. Like Derek Coleman could cross people over. Like he was his only problem was his attitude, but his talent, and his ability. Charles Barkley says it all the time. He couldn't guard Derek Coleman. Derek Coleman was a monster.
And the funny part is, the Earth is probably just screwed because the Pistons were just special that year. That team
I think we both agree that you can put together a great team, but they were so dominant that year. Like, and the thing about them was they always made you play at their pace. So the scores were going to always be in the low 90s, maybe even in the 80s, depending. That's how dominant they were and how methodical they were on offense. Like they would walk the ball up and they'd run Rasheed or Ben over, and Chauncey would turn the corner and attack, and then Rip would come off a pin down, and before you know it, you're pulling the ball out the net. Like they were just a machine on both ends of the floor.
And even if their shot was off, it didn't matter because you were scoring like 77 points anyway.
Right,
so.
right. You don't get excited because you're not. I mean, I still can't get over. I don't know if it was Game 5 or Game 6. They held the Lakers to 65 points. On a team that had Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, they held them to 65 points.
So, John, what makes this challenge a little more challenging?
See, John didn't get it.
Maximum of 13 All-Star appearances combined. So
yeah, combined. You should have thrown that part in there. Yeah.
Yeah. So like, I think all those guys are pretty much like Kobe. I think has more than 13 by himself. That's what makes it challenging. Got to get that starting 5 to 13 All-Star appearances combined
Duncan,
or under.
I think Duncan has more than 13 by himself.
Oh, I love Timmy D. Oh, there we go. I was a little girl, but I do remember the 04 Pistons. I remember when they fell apart.
I love Jory's comments, but every time she comments, I just feel a little bit older.
Jory, stop making Mopey old. Come on now. No,
it's all love.
Oh, absolutely. That Pistons, we got to remember how dominant they were too. That's a team that went to 5 straight Eastern Conference Finals and back-to-back finals. Unfortunately, they just couldn't get past the Spurs.
Look, NBA games are won in moments sometimes, and if anybody's got a regret to this day, it's Rasheed Wallace rotating when he shouldn't have rotated. You don't rotate off of Robert Horry in the corner. You don't do that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I remember I was watching a video, and it's always interesting to watch teams like that, like the Pistons. There's like a video on like the rise and fall of the Pistons dynasty, and then seeing like it was you posted. It was you posting all their draft picks from the 2010s.
Yeah,
and I chuckle. I'm like, dude, this is why you guys are terrible. Like your second round picks are better than all your first round picks, and you traded all those good second round picks away.
But just remember, just like every good dynasty, like what Golden State was able to do organically for the most part, what OKC did in its early goings, the Pistons did the opposite. And we all know it started with the 04 draft. When you miss that badly, like you can miss and the guy ends up being like just a really good player, but not a star. But he didn't end up being a good player. He didn't end up being a water boy or a bodyguard or a hot dog maker. He didn't do anything. And everybody else, he just blew it that badly. Like when you miss like that with Darko, that cost your team 6 to 8 years right off the bat. Because remember, in the same draft, obviously Cleveland got LeBron, Miami got Wade. Denver got Melo, like, and you got Mr. Irrelevant.
Nope, that's valid. That's valid. We got Halliburton, SGA, Jaylen Brown, Banchero, and Jokic. That would
No,
strike the defense.
I got no problem at all. That is offense, and you got a couple of guys that can defend.
I'll take Darko. I will take Darko over Thanasis.
I'm gonna take Darko just because he knows that we don't plan on putting him in the game. With Thanasis, if you don't put him in the game, Giannis might get you fired.
Hey, Thanasis will randomly have like a really bizarre, great highlight, and it is the funniest thing ever. Like, people are freaking out. It's like, what did he do? Oh, yeah, he just randomly hit the sham god that Kyrie does in the middle of a game. Like, well, if you could do that consistently, you might be playing.
And his biggest cheerleader is his brother. Giannis gets up off the bench when he cuts somebody up.
We're not going to talk about that. We're not going to talk about that.
Wait a minute. I didn't even bother watching that game because I just assumed that you guys was going to boat ride them. You're losing to Memphis?
Yeah. Oh, yep. I didn't. Yep. 82 to 77. What do we?
Wow.
Yeah, nobody can shoot. We have Malik Beasley shooting 1 of 6. Jay Crowder's 1 of 3. But I think the bigger problem is, yeah, I think everybody's shooting well against us again. Come on, Zaire Williams is 6 of 8. This is toast. Our defense is toast.
But don't worry, Gallinari's on the way.
Gallinari's there to stare at the defender as they shoot an open 3 in front of him.
Right.
My favorite Thanasis moment is when he came into the game. The first play of the game gets a tech for flopping. He didn't even play for like 10 seconds against Boston. And Malik Beasley, by the way, is our best 3-point shooter in the 3-point contest.
Wow.
You know what's scary? If I asked you who has a higher 3-point percentage this year, Dame or Giannis, who would you say?
The way Dame has been shooting, probably Giannis.
And you would be right. Giannis is shooting 30% from 3 this year. Dame's at 29. So, once again, I will reiterate this. I still don't regret the trade because I understand what they were trying to do. I try not to play revisionist history and go back and change my answers on things. So I will stand my ground and say I'll get it. But
at the end of the day, it comes out, it's real simple. It's either going to work and they're going to win a title, or it won't, and you'll go, well, it was a failure. But that's what it comes down to. You don't make that kind of move and go, well, our peak is to win the conference championship. That kind of move is we're going to win a finals, or it's going to be a disappointing season.
Why is Dame an all-star starter? Why is he in the 3-point? Why are we letting him in the building this year for the all-star anything?
Because he's Dame. You got a name.
That's fair. Ooh. Yeah, John, I just decided to take a look real quick, too. We got 84 to 71 at the half for the Golden State Jazz game. Subbing out Clay for Pods is working wonders. Pods is leading the Warriors right now with 18 points. And Clay has 17 points off the bench on 7 of 11 shooting.
There you go. Good Clay. Yeah, you got good Clay tonight.
Now, guys, there's another new segment that we are introducing tonight.
Are we?
And it's really simple. We see a lot of bonehead plays. We see a lot. We see people calling them out. So we are going to start calling out some boneheaded plays, segments, press conferences, whatever we think people need to do better in. And the name of this segment is Do Better with Mo Better. So.
Okay.
Mo, do you want me to start on this one?
Yeah, you do your thing, man. Cook.
So I got my do better moment, and it's actually Clay because he committed maybe one of the most boneheaded plays that I have ever seen. And if you know Clay, and if you watch the Warriors this week, you already know what I'm talking about. It is Warriors Clippers. The Clippers are up 3. There's 34 seconds to go. The Warriors just drained a 3. Clippers inbounding. Clay commits an intentional foul to put the Clippers at the line to potentially go up 5 when all they needed to do was get a stop to give themselves a chance to tie. I thought it was the absolute most insane thing ever. Clay, you've been in the league since what, 2011? And you don't know that in a 3-point game with 30 seconds left, when you were going to have plenty of time on the clock
Play that
to
out.
try and tie the game, you have Steph Curry with limitless range that can get a
Right.
shot off from anywhere. You have so much weapons at your disposal. You're going to make that? That's going to be the decision you make? Come on, man. You got to do better than that.
You got to do a lot better. Let me ask you this: Who did he foul?
Russell Westbrook.
Oh, that's almost a good foul. That's usually, all jokes aside, that's usually a good foul.
Yeah, that's fair, but, shooting 66% is better than, normally a shot on the half court, which even your wide open 3-point shot is what, 40%?
Sure.
So you're still giving up a lot of percentage points with that one. So that is my do better moment. Clay's just got to do better. His situational awareness at least has to get up back to 0 from
Agreed.
-0.
Agreed.
So yeah, that was our fun. That's our fun little segment with do better. Mo, you got one? Or
not this week, but I'm sure, like, you know what? There will be no shortage of do betters over the All-Star game weekend.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Man, I can't believe it's
what?
already
Now that I'm all hyped up, we should have had Thanasis in the skills competition. I'm just saying, because he's very enthusiastic, and a big part of All-Star weekend is your attitude and your approach. And I'm not even joking. I'm just saying that the one thing about that guy, and I'm being straight honest, is he gives you everything he has all the time.
Yeah, no, I can go with that. Like, I don't mind Thanasis being there and being a hype man. Throw him in the skills competition. It's not like it means much anyway, right? Team onto
And
the
it's all fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's right. They threw him a vote. They threw him a vote to be an all-star. I think it was starter from the players. That was absolutely hilarious. Thanasis can work security and greet everybody.
Yeah. That's messed up.
Yeah, no. Fortunately, I got to go to the Bucks on Tuesday, and unfortunately, we got blown out by like 35 by the Heat. It was not pretty. But, I got to see everybody. It was a lot of fun. My first live game this year. Hopefully, I'll get to go to a couple more. I know I'll be going to the April 9th game. It is in Philly, because I'll be on vacation in Philly at that time for WrestleMania. And I'll be seeing 76ers and the Detroit Pistons. So I'll be looking forward to that. But, yeah, that was our episode for today. Mo, is there anything else you wanted to talk about before we hop up?
No, I think that a lot of us were really excited going into All-Star weekend. You can tell that the teams are ready for this break. It's kind of the dog days. I would attribute a couple of the Bucks' losses. It's that grind part of the season. So everybody could use that break, use that relaxation, come back, go stronger. I can't wait for All-Star game weekend. The funny thing about All-Star weekend is I don't really care as much about the slam dunk as other people. I'm excited to see the 3-point competition. I'm excited to see Steph versus Sabrina. That's going to be the highlight. Obviously, seeing the legends there and things like that, that's fun to see. But the game itself, which is more like a Harlem Globetrotter layup line, I'll watch it. But I'm actually more interested in watching the sophomores versus the new kids on the block, because I think that's going to be a more entertaining game.
The Bucks need a Doc pep talk. I got you. Here's your Doc pep talk.
Come on, guys.
Keep playing.
Come on, guys.
Right? Come on, we got to keep playing. We got to play the game. Did I do it? Did I do good?
You got Doc down pat. If you could just make your voice a little bit raspier.
Yeah, that's fair. Let me go do a jog around the park. We'll let my asthma kick in. I'll try it again.
Right. Yo, look, appreciate you guys. Everybody in the chat, Kyle, Gene, Jory. Suggs, the whole crew. We thank you guys so much for hopping on with me and Brett. These things that we do, not just talking hoops, but the either ors or I think everything that Brett comes up with, it makes the show entertaining and informative at the same time because it kind of blends together current players with some players from the past that kind of get lost in the shuffle. So we always enjoy it. We hope you guys enjoy it as much.
And Gene, my answer to that is Team Pow.
Oh,
we got in the Rising Stars game. I got Pow.
I think Jaylen Brown's going to get hung at least once in the dunk competition.
I'll say my dark horse for the dunk. As long as we get better dunks than Jericho Sims and Tim's, I'm okay with whatever happens.
He said Toppin. You know what? I'm gonna go with if Matt McGlung is coming back, I'm going with Matt McGlung.
I want to make an appearance soon. Jory, you are always welcome. Just let us know what day you can
anytime, Jory. We'd love it.
You know, my do better moment was almost to the media because I saw Trae Young was once again in Trae talk on the first thing. Oh, Trae Young to the Lakers. I'm like, does every superstar that becomes available first Trae need to be either to the Lakers or the Knicks? Can we get like fun packages like Trae Young or the Orlando Magic or something?
Or blow our minds and say Trae Young to Sacramento. Like, what? Trae Young to Sacramento? Like, look, it's always fun, I guess, for the media to always connect everybody who's coming out of their deals or getting traded with the Lakers. But the reality is, like, come on, man, come on. They attach everybody to the Lakers at the trade deadline, and the Lakers ended up with nobody. I don't want to say nobody. We got Spencer Dinwiddie in the buyout market, and he is a good basketball player. This Lakers team, come on, man, you have enough talent to be in the playoffs. I don't think you're a title contender, but you should be in the playoffs.
No, I agree. That was always my pet peeve. It's like, guys, the Lakers have a limited cap like everybody else. It is not unlimited. This isn't baseball.
Right.
And stay on the Hawks and continue to win nothing. Nope, that's probably going to be the end result of all this.
I'm going to say, Kyle, that seems like the immediate plan right now.
But no, guys, we thank you for tuning in. That was a lot of fun. I'll have more great content for you next week. I'll talk some All-Star. And we will see you guys next week.
Appreciate you.